Joyfolie. Today we're talking about growing a team and my experience in having the wonderful team we have here at Joyfolie. Also, I had a few people email in with some specific topic requests. So we're going to be talking about marketing because that seemed to come up a lot. How do you market a business? But the whole idea is just sharing my experience in the hope that it helps other women who might be struggling, because I struggled a lot in the earlier years of the company, still do. So anyway, we have Hannah behind the lens who's prepared some questions from you guys and from our team. Go ahead.
Okay. How many employees are currently on your team?
So we have about 15 full-time employees, and we go up to 20 with hourly and interns and things like that.
How often do you add to your team?
So, building a team, I think in the beginning was one of the scariest things I thought about in terms of scaling. Knowing when to hire was a big concern in the beginning, and it still is, but I'm a little bit clearer in the perspective in terms of how to hire more. And one of the things that I realized I found myself saying a lot in the beginning is, you're going to do this and this, but at some point you're just going to do this. And then when one area or one market grew and the sales also made sense to add to our team, then I would add to our team. So, in the beginning I did everything. I did the marketing, the shipping, the photography, the everything. And I had a wonderful gal who did email for me questions and things like that. But overall, I did everything else. And then my first hire, who has been on Raise a 3, Nicole, the big cheese. I remember when she came in, she did wholesale, and then she also did channel or flash. And I remember telling her, you're going to do both. And then there'll be a point where you're only going to pick one. So think about which one you like. And that absolutely happened. In fact, Alex, who is sitting in this room with me right now, did social and photography, but she's a photography major. And I was like, we're a small team. I needed to do social too. But when we grow, we're going to have someone else do social, because your photography was your first thing. And now we have someone else. Hi, Hannah, who's over social. So that was kind of how I grew the team. And for me, because I don't have financial backing and I've grown only out of the revenue of the company, I've only added to the team when I felt ready to add them. And the sales indicated we could, increase our payroll to take on one more person. And that's probably the biggest challenge, actually, is I remember one year the Powerball was like 50 million or something like that, and everyone was like, oh, I would get this and I would get that, and I was like, I would hire 50 people because there's plenty of times where you wish you had a bigger team or you had more people to help, but that's just not how I think about it. I grow the team when I feel like the sales indicate we can grow, but I usually take about every quarter or 6 months, and I think about what is our biggest need next, and then I start thinking about what kind of person I would want to fill that, what their strengths would have to be, that kind of thing.
What qualities do you look for in a potential employee when hiring?
So I love our team, and I think what's great and unfortunately unique about Joyfolie is that most people who are here, I think they really love what they do and enjoy their day-to-day and their work, and that's actually really unusual. So that's one of the really important criteria that I interview for. Let me back up. I would say I interview on culture and personality first and aptitude second. There are certain things where experience is really critical, but a lot of things can be trained. And I guess I always figured I didn't know how to do anything I did for the company, and then I learned. So maybe on the spectrum, I'm a little more willing to train. But for me, attitude and culture were always number one. You really can't train somebody into having a great attitude if they don't want to have one. So I hire for that first. In fact, we have a culture statement that I wrote with 10 different criteria that each individual on the team has to sign on to. And this is as much of a standard of them being a productive employee on the team as, more quantifiable number type objectives. For example, one of those culture values is we have a can-do attitude. So when we sit and have a meeting, we come with optimism, solution-based, and part of that was because I had worked with people who were all problems, no solutions, and the meeting went long and you felt gross afterwards, and that's not how I wanted to work. So when I was building a team, I was thinking about what kind of atmosphere do I want to work in? What kind of people do I want to work with? And then I make that my criteria. And one of the rules of thumb I have too is that if I think about going to lunch with this person, would that be a nice thing, that I enjoy having lunch with? And so I always hire people I like to be around and talk to also.
Do you ever have struggles with growing your team?
Yes, of course. In the beginning, I didn't really know very much about hiring, and I definitely made some bad hires in the beginning. Always check references, always, always, always. There's just time here that I didn't do that, and boy, did I suffer for it. So check references, do your due diligence, run a background check every single time. Those are things, unfortunately, that I learned the hard way. Because I didn't do a lot of hiring right before this. I was teaching. So do those good fundamentals. Also, just a hiring tip, don't ever hire unless you have 3 good applicants. You don't want to talk yourself into one applicant. You want to have a selection to choose from. So those are some things that I've learned. I think the worries, what was the question? The stress? Struggles. I think the struggle we have now especially is, I think for the size of our team, we put out a really big brand presence, which I think everybody on our team should feel really proud of. I'm really proud of what we're doing here for the number of women who are doing it. But there's also challenges because in fashion, you're working in the present, which is important, and you're working in the future, which is also important. And it's really juggling the balance of those two that I think is hard for every one of our team members. And I think everybody kind of wishes they had more help. So, we try and talk regularly about prioritization and sometimes somebody needs help because we're ready and we can bring on help, and sometimes the answer is not yet. It's going to be a while. So how can we rethink how we're approaching this position to make it feel more manageable?
Where do you see the growth of your team in the next 5 years?
So it's an interesting question to think about because, let's see, so 2014, the business was in the top 4 of my house still, and it was me and Nicole, the big G's, and a couple remote employees, and that was it. And it's really weird to think just a few years ago the business was in my house still, and now we have 20 people. So where we could go in 4 years, a team of 50, perhaps more. I don't know. I'm not sure. I wouldn't say it's my goal to build a big team as much as it's my goal to build a great team. And two, I like the size of our team now. It's really intimate. I can have a relationship with every team member. And when we get bigger, I know that's not going to be possible. So things will change. Some of the things we do now, the trips we can take all together. We're almost getting there already where it's hard to make that happen. So yeah, definitely more people.
When do you see yourself moving to a new office space?
Wow, that's a good question too. I actually just called on a place just the other day that was just around the corner because I liked the layout a little bit better, a little bit more open, but it was not available. So, I'm not sure. I like the space that we have. It's very convenient for me because the kids are so close. And I do like how it looks. If you've watched our tour, like it has a good vibes, but I have this dream of a big open space. It's so funny. I go on my Pinterest board and it's actually the Joyfolie Pinterest board, so you can check it out if you want to. And there's one called Studio, and I started Pinterest like really early on in the company. And my dream office in the beginning was like, you go to like Lowe's and you can get this shed, and it's like an 8x10 shed, and people got the shed and they put an AC unit in it, and they like made it cute and a cute little rug and a workstation. I was like, oh, that's my dream office space. And so you look in there's like a bunch of those in the beginning, and then there's a bunch of pins of like really cool garages turned into offices, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. So then you get like 20x20. And now, like, my vision of what the kind of space we could occupy is totally different. My vision for it has changed a lot. I really like the idea of, there's a place called The Shed in Healdsburg. It's this big glass building, and it's really open concept. A little retail presence on the bottom, and then big, like, glass garage doors and big open spaces on the top. If I build, I would do that. Otherwise, I like the idea of like an old factory. If you haven't seen, what's that movie with Anne Hathaway? Oh, it's The Intern, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, her workspace is really cool there, which is an old factory, or even an old barn. Just something with big, open, connected space. Right now, our departments are on different floors and in different rooms, and I wish we were all together. So thus concludes our Raise of Three, but I really would like to help. I mean, it's hard, to be honest with you, to find time to do these videos for me and for our team. But like I said at the beginning, the more I research statistics around women in business, I was just really surprised. I always thought that what I was doing was not that unique, or I don't know, not that unattainable. And then the more I got involved in growing my leadership, being around other people who manage bigger teams, reading some statistics, I realized that women in business, especially relative to men, there is a very significant divide. And I was surprised by that. And I think I don't know, I don't consider myself in a place to like have arrived or like, oh, I've got this all solved. I feel like some days I don't have anything solved, but I have been doing this since 2011, and I have learned some things, and if what I learned could help somebody, then I wanted to share it. If the mistakes I made talking about them can help somebody else, why not talk about it and just encourage women in business. It's hard. It's not an easy road, and there are times where you're like, what in the world am I doing? And so just to connect with somebody else on that level, I think can be comforting. So anyway, I've had a couple people email in saying, can we meet or can we talk? And I wish I could, but it's hard. Like, work-life balance is not an easy thing these days for me. But if there's a topic that would help, I can certainly talk about it. I'm not sure if I have any expertise or experience, but I can try and really just connect a community of women who are interested in, even if it's not entrepreneurship, just actualizing a dream. Like, so many of the steps that I used were about being intentional about what my goals were and how I was going to get there. So feel free to share things you'd want to hear about or talk about, and I'll do my best, but no guarantees. Thanks.